And if you do have the participant window open, it's kind of cool because on the attendee side, it's like lights up, like everyone's popping in. Hello, hello, hello. All our friends coming in here.
Yeah.
They're super
Hey,
excited.
everybody.
Hey guys.
It's filling up.
Um, it is filling up. It's like this massive waiting room. Um, Super excited for this topic. You know, one of the best parts of this topic was I didn't have to do any prep work. Guest speakers. We need to do more of those, Jordan. What do you
It'd
think?
be nice. A couple a year would be great. Hi, everybody that's joining. We're excited to have you here. Just going to wait another minute or two so stragglers can get in the waiting room, but very excited about today's webinar topic.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Lots of questions. Of course, it's recording. It starts recording as soon as we launch the webinar. We always get a lot of questions like, is this being recorded? Typically within about 24 hours of the end of the webinar, it will be on the support site. We will also send out the link to you following the webinar. So there's going to be just a whole bunch of information that for many of us is going to be new stuff. I mean, I plan to be learning during this webinar, so that's cool. So we have it recorded. Very excited to have Jeremy with us.
Yeah.
All right.
And maybe just a review before we officially get started. If you do have questions, we would love to hear them. Please enter them in. We use Zoom webinar, which means all of your questions will go into the Q&A box down in your Zoom settings. Once you submit your questions, all of us panelists will be able to see them. We can get answers out to you. And once an answer is published, you'll be able to see everybody's question and answer that's been asked. So don't be afraid, put questions in if you have them. We expected that in this call today. So
I think there'll be some questions.
Yeah. You think we're ready to get started, Allison?
I think so. You want to introduce our special guests and the rest of us?
Sure. We'll officially kick it off with introductions. So hello, everybody again. Welcome to our October webinar on all things Google. We have some familiar faces today on the call. I'm Jordan, our Director of Operations. We've also got Allison, James, and Christina Godfrey. They are both account managers. I'm sure many of you recognize them and meet with them on a daily basis. We also have Brian on the call. He is our account executive. And if you know anybody looking for a website, be sure to contact Brian. And then we have our special guest on the call, Jeremy Weedman. He is our marketing expert in all things Google. He is wonderful, and he's got some really great information to share with you guys on a big topic. We get a lot of questions in on Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Google Ad Grants. What are those? Do I need them? Jeremy's here to really walk through all of that so that you have a ton of informed data and information to move forward. So we're very excited to pass it over to him. So Jeremy,
thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Jordan. You're awesome. Thanks, Allison and Brian and the team. One each. Thanks for having me today. This is a big topic. So we're going to do our best to get into this and cover a lot of ground. I was just telling Allison as we were jumping on the call, I'm not a huge fan of monologuing for an hour. I get tired of listening to myself. So please use those questions, the Q&A, and then Allison and Jordan are going to interrupt me whenever I start getting off track as well. So today we're talking about 4 tools, 3 tools, and then one thing service that you should be using. Each one of these are kind of like 10 levels deep. And we're going to go about 1 or 2 levels deep into each tool. That being said, if you have specific questions about those tools, we'd love to dive deeper. But each one of these could take an hour at least, right, on their own presentation. So the goal of today is to present to you from a digital marketing standpoint what these tools can do for you, how they can benefit you on like a weekly, daily basis, monthly, and certainly yearly, and how to leverage these for your nonprofit. Okay, so that's the goal. I hope you take a ton of value away from this. If you don't, you'll never see me again, and we'll never have to do this again. And Allison will be back next month. So to start off, we do have a poll question, right? An engagement right away, right, Allison? So she's
Yes,
the magician behind the keyboard. So if you want to pop that up and if
this
you want to talk about it, or I can.
Who's paying attention. There should be a poll question that dropped on your screen, everyone. This is what were you most interested in today, and quite possibly you're not even really sure. So you can pick as many of these as you want. This don't know where there's two questions. That was a boo-boo by Allison. So ignore the bottom one. But go ahead and click on there and
choice one. Everybody choose choice one on chat on question
yeah,
two, just to be.
how did I? Well, that was I have a second poll. I have no idea how I did that.
No
That's
worries.
good job. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So most interested in learning about today. We're going to do it with a follow-up question and find out what you're using. So there we go. Let's see. And some of you might not be sure, so that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, show you our results. Good answer on the bottom question. That's so funny. I'm not sure how I did that. All right. Most
Look at that.
interested in. Do you see it, Jeremy?
I do. Who cares about Search Console, right? No, I'm kidding.
What is Search Console anyway?
We had some people, I like the 4 people out of 47 that are just kicking the goads type people, where they're like, screw you, Jeremy, I'm choosing choice number 2. I like those kind of people. And I like the not 44 too. Okay, so analytics is the winner and grants. So we'll spend some extra time on that. That helps me. I don't want to talk about something that is boring or not of value. So all of these are of value, but some of them sound like they're going to be a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get rocking. Again, use that Q&A, okay, today. Jordan, interrupt me. Allison as well, if we need to answer any questions. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about maximizing your marketing with Google. Improve your nonprofit's online presence with Google Search Console. I promise I won't just read slides today. I hate that when people have slides and they just read them. But that is the topic of today, and we're going to go through that fairly quickly, but hopefully slow enough that you get some value out of it. So introduction to these tools. First of all, Google is one of the largest companies on the planet, okay? Everybody knows that, mostly if you've been around for more than 30 seconds. So Google offers these tools to marketers, okay? So if you are a marketing person or if you're in the operations side of any organization or business today, chances are you are using Google in some capacity. If you're not, a lot of your users are. They're using Google to find you. They're using Google for search, for maps, for anything all and above. I forgot how many billion searches there are a day inside of Google. Okay, so it's a powerful tool. We're in the billions per day, not millions. It's a powerful tool, and they offer powerful tools to marketers to measure the performance of your website. Okay, and not just your website, but today we're mostly talking about your website. The 3 that we're really going to cover today, the tools, are these right here: Search Console, Analytics, and Tag Manager. Each one has their own special features and what they do, how they're different. We're going to talk about that today, but they all work together. And that's very important to understand, is they are separate tools, but you really need all of them to get a full picture from 30,000 feet how your organization is doing. So if you're maybe on the fence of like, well, we use analytics, but I don't really care about Search Console, I would challenge you today to rethink that. And maybe after today's presentation, you might. That's my job to convince you, right? But I would just challenge you at the beginning. You're not going to have a full picture of your organization, nonprofit's marketing if you don't utilize all of these. Okay, so that's kind of my challenge. This way, you can use all of this information to make smart choices about your digital marketing strategy. That's a fancy way to say making decisions for how to best market you. Okay, so what are the differences between those 3? Jordan reminded me of the importance of defining this to you today. So they all are different, they work together, but how are they different? So it's weird to define tools by how they're different from other tools, but we're going to start that way. I promise it'll make more sense. Google Search Console answers the question, how do people find my website in Google? If you're asking that question, you need to be using Google Search Console. If you're not asking that question, you should be asking that question. Google Search Console is the tool that will answer that question. Okay, so this tool helps you measure your site's traffic, performance, fix any issues with it showing up in Google, making sure that your site shines in Google search results. And this is probably the most underutilized tool that I find in working with nonprofits. which, by the way, I've done this for over a decade. I won't go through all this stuff, right? But this is kind of my area, and I've been doing this for over a decade. And in doing this, I find that Search Console is typically very much underlooked, evidenced by that poll. Okay. So it's not that you don't care, it's probably that you don't know what it does for you, right? That's what we're doing here today. You need to know how people are finding you inside of Google. That is not an analytics question. That's not a tag manager question. That is a Search Console question. We'll get into that tool a little bit more. Google Analytics. This tool shows you how visitors are behaving once they're on your website. Most people know how that is, what this tool does. There's been a lot of changes in the last 6 months with Google Analytics, and obviously it's an important tool based on the poll as well. This answers the question, what are people doing once they're on my site? Okay, get the difference? People are not on your website, they're finding you in Google. That's a Search Console question. Once they land on your website from Google or any other website or acquisition channel, they click a Facebook post and go to your website. Once they're on your site, they are an analytics person, okay? And you're tracking that person's behavior once they're there. Again, important to understand the difference, okay? And the third one is probably the least understood of all three. If the first one's the most underutilized, this one's the most misunderstood. Tag Manager. This tool is an all-in-one tag management system. And you're like, thanks, Jeremy, that doesn't help at all, right? We'll kind of talk about what that is more. It answers the question, where can I manage all of this marketing stuff? So if you've ever been asked, how do I put analytics on my website? Or maybe you've asked that question. How do I get like Facebook ads or Facebook pixels? A lot of people have heard of those things. How do I get those on my website? Tag Manager is the answer, and that's where you manage all of this as well. Okay, so those are the differences. Let's dive into the first tool, Search Console. I'm going to go quick because I know this wasn't super popular, but it is important. Again, I'll challenge you to use this more. It's a free tool offered by Google that helps website owners monitor and maintain their status. You can read the rest of that. The key features that I want you to take away from what you could use Search Console for is to see what searches are bringing users to your website. Gold information to know, okay? You can monitor how well your site is performing inside of Google. Again, I don't care how many page views you get, how many clicks you're getting, or what's your most popular page. Those are analytics questions. If I have the question is, let's use an example. Allison, you might help me with this. Can I see like organizations on the call or just people?
No, you just have names.
What's an organization that's on the call, Allison?
Oh, well,
I'm putting you on the spot.
St. Vincent de Paul Disaster Services.
Okay.
St. Vincent de Paul Disaster Services.
Where are they located?
Everywhere. But I think, Brooke, you might have to type in. They're out of Virginia, I believe.
Virginia. Okay. Awesome. Well, let's say somebody in the state of Virginia, there's a disaster that happens, right? Whether that's a tornado or a flood, something, right? If somebody in that state is looking for aid, right? Let's say that some sort of maybe food assistance. Maybe that's a bad example, but I'll say if someone's looking for food assistance in Virginia, you could use Search Console to learn if someone is searching for food assistance in Google in the state of Virginia, or even in your county. You can get very granular here. You can see where you rank for that, right? That data is readily available. And you can see how many monthly clicks you're getting from that and what pages are ranking for that keyword. You can also see what you're missing out on. Okay, and that's one of my favorite ways to use this tool, is you can think about the services and what you want to show up for. How are you helping people in your area? That's like the key question. The answer to that question is what you should be ranking for in Search Console. So find those keywords, see how many people are looking for that each month, which, by the way, you can see in this tool, which is very cool. And then how many of those searches are coming to your website, right? And this is where you get your marketing
Jeremy?
plan. Go ahead.
So this question just came in. Can you show us where to find this tool?
Yes.
Like,
I will.
how do I find Google Search Console?
Good question. Awesome question. That's the next slide. You nailed it.
Good job.
Identify and fix issues that may be keeping your site from ranking higher. Okay. Sometimes those are hard to define if you're not a developer and you're not looking for things like robot text and bad SEO. Search Console will tell you in human language how to fix those. Normal human language. Okay. So the next slide, how do I get to Google Search Console? Each one of these tools is going to have a slide like this that shows you those things. Okay. So how do I set this up? Step one, go to search.google.com, right? That's how you get to Google Search Console. You're going to add a new property for your website. I'm not going to go through these. This will take too long. But this is how the steps that you would take to set up Search Console for your website. There's one step here that you're going to need help. And this is where you're going to reach out to Brian or to Christina or to James, I think he's Jordan. And you're going to email Allison and you're going to say, hey, can you help me with this step? And it's going to be this step right here that says you'll need to add a DNS record. Okay. Jordan's done that 100 times. Brian's done that 100 times. We know how to walk you through that. It will take not much time at all. We will help you with that step. Everything else you can do on your own. It's very easy to set up, and you can start tracking your data by the end of this week easily. Okay. So here's how, at the bottom of these slides, then here's how I'm going to start recommending the first things that you do with the tool once they're set up. Okay. So number one, how do I get it set up? Where do I go? And then number two, what's the first things you should be doing out the gate with that tool? Again, don't go 10 levels deep. Start with floor one or floor two. Floor one is make sure that you submit a sitemap. Okay, in the sidebar of Google Search Console, there's going to be a little button that says sitemap. Okay, if you're on Drupal, Allison, like what's the percentage of people on Drupal on this call?
Oh, probably just about 100, maybe 99.
Nice. Awesome.
Hi.
Drupal loves sitemaps. Okay. This is probably built into your website and you've never known it, or maybe you do because you're awesome marketing folks. We can take that sitemap and submit it to Google at midnight every 24 hours for you. And Drupal will do that. And it just takes one time to set it up. That's step one. Okay. If you have any questions about that, there's YouTube videos. And then there's also Allison and Jordan and all the great people on the call. Step two, gather at least 30 days of data. Don't touch anything. Like once it's verified, don't touch it. You can log in, don't make any changes, don't make any marketing decisions. Gather 30 days of data before you make any meaningful extrapolations from the data. Okay, that was a $50 word to say, don't do anything, just let it rest. 90 days is better, but 30 days is going to give you a good view of where you're at in Google. Step three, review the top queries for your branding and your services that you offer. So this screenshot right here shows you this is a real Search Console account. I think this is a YMCA. This is a YMCA in Florida. Okay. So when I look at their Search Console, I can see in the last 3 months, they've gotten 20,000 clicks from Google. How many times did they show up? That's an impression. What's the click-through rate? Where am I average showing up? Okay, 21's not good. I don't think this YMCA is not on the call. I love you, Tracy. You're awesome. But that's not great, okay? The joke is, where do you hide a dead body? On the second page of Google, right? So if you're not on the first or really in the top three, we can work on that. Now, again, I might not want to be on the first page for everything, but I do want to be on the first page for YMCA Boca Raton if I'm this person. And look, they're number one. So that's great. This one right here, when somebody searches for YMCA in their area, they're only getting 1% of those clicks. That's a problem. So do you see how Search Console can immediately, I'm maybe 3 minutes into this tool, and I have a marketing plan and a problem that we can solve. Okay. I wish I could spend more time on these, but we're going to move fast. Analytics. Google Analytics is a free tool that helps you track the behavior of your users. It sounds like a lot of you are using this, okay? This is the most well-known. It is a beast of a tool. There are people that go to school and get credentials just to do this. There are analytics agencies that will do this for you. So you're probably wearing 10 hats, right? And this is one of them, and we have to remember that. At the same time, it's not hard to get a ton of value from those first two floors without having to become an expert. okay? Analytics helps you measure things like what pages are the most popular. Again, this is once they're on your website. How long are they on those pages? How many users came to those pages? How many new users are coming to my website as compared to returning people? How many phones are looking at my website compared to desktops, tablets? Anything that you can imagine that you would want to know about your users or how they're behaving on your website, this is the tool that will give it to you. So you can measure popular pages, you can track conversion events. I wish we could have an hour to talk about conversions, but we won't. Make better decisions based on data. This is one of the things that I preach and harp on constantly, is the loudest opinion is not always right in marketing. And you know that, those of you that are on this call. And sometimes the decision gets made for certain things. For example, my favorite one, should the button be blue or red, right? Should the donate button be bright orange or should it be purple, right? And typically what I find is that the person with the biggest title or the loudest opinion wins. And I always like to say the data should win. Okay, the data should make those decisions for you. Not Allison, not Jordan, not me, just because, oh, that person should know. Let's look at the numbers. If you do not have the data, then you can't make a good decision. Okay, it's going to have to be opinions. Should you use analytics? Okay, if you're new to it, these are the steps. Sounds like a lot of you are not new to it. How I would recommend to first start. Now, this is going to be specific to Google Analytics 4. Okay, so a lot of you are probably aware Universal Analytics went away in July of this year. There's a big shift, big change. And if you were used to Google Analytics looking a certain way, you logged in that next day or whenever you implemented it, and you were like, what the heck? Where did all my pie charts go? Right? Pie charts are so 2022. So sorry, I make myself laugh because I'm weird. So Analytics 4 is a different interface, yes, but all the data is still there. Okay, that's important to know. Like you didn't lose any data, hopefully, if you migrated, which all of you are great and probably did. I would start right here. On the left side, there's reports. Under reports, there's engagement. And under engagement, there's pages and screens. Okay, it's not just pages, it says pages and screens. Go there first. Okay, study that page. If that's the only page you look at, that's fine. Look at that page once a week in your analytics. Really challenge yourself. Just set it on your calendar. Take 30 minutes and look at that report. What that report will tell you is where are users spending the most time on your website. Okay, that's good to know. For one thing, you need to know what pages are good, but you also need to know what pages do you wish were doing better and how can you make them better. Okay. If you have a really important promotion or event and it's not getting any views, you're going to know that. The second place I would go to, again, floor number 2 here, is go to reports, acquisition, traffic. That's going to show you where your users are coming from. Not everybody comes from Google. Okay. A lot of times they'll come from social media. They'll come from somewhere else. The best ones to find are when people are coming through something called external links or link backs. If you've ever heard of link building, backlinks, sometimes they're called. That's when another website links to you. If you notice that you're getting 1,000 people a month from this specific website, reach out to that website, send them some chocolates, find out how you can write more articles with that person, and you can up your traffic. That's in acquisition. Okay. And last, go ahead.
You just used a term though that I love. Backslashing. What did you call it?
Backlinks.
Backlinks. Would you just give that nugget again, real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So backlinks are the #1 way to rank higher in Google. All right. You've all heard this SEO stuff. You've all heard this keywords in the title and meta titles and metadata and blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, guess what? Those are all things that you can do on your website yourself. The only thing that you cannot do for your website is link to it, right? Unless you have a lot of other websites that you own or manage, which most people don't. A backlink is when another website links to you. Okay. So if I'm a United Way and I'm in partnership with a YMCA locally, this is a great example. Maybe we have some of those on the call. A lot of times those organizations work together. If the local United Way website links to the YMCA website, that boosts the YMCA in Google, and vice versa. If the YMCA website links to the United Way website from their page, that boosts the United Way in Google. That's called a backlink. What you should be doing, of course, there's 1,000 things we should all be doing, right? But you should be focusing on getting more backlinks. You've probably seen backlink building strategies, right, Allison? Did that help? So the number one way to rank higher is getting more backlinks from other websites. And the reason is, I think Google's probably right in this, is that they trust what other people say about you more than what you say about you. Okay. So if Jordan's website talks really good about Allison's website, they're going to trust Jordan more than Allison saying, my website's awesome. So backlinking is the best way to rank. All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Little tidbit there. When somebody links to your website, if they link the words click here, please email them with a gift, a $10 gift to Amazon, and say, will you take 5 minutes and update that link to be our brand or a service that you offer instead of click here? Because if someone links the words click here, that does nothing or very little for your SEO. But if I ran an organization for disaster relief and Allison wrote an article about my website and said, if you want to learn more about disaster relief, go here. And she linked disaster relief, Google takes all the juice from those words and puts it towards my website. Does that make sense? So click here doesn't help. Your brand and your services do. It's not that it doesn't help. Let me clarify. It's still good, but it's not as good as it could be. Again, chocolates help. If people don't like chocolate, I don't know. God help them. Okay. Tag manager. We'll do this one really quickly and then we'll get into some ad grants, or maybe some questions would be best next. Tag Manager is a free tool that helps you manage any and all tags. Of the three, this is my favorite. Okay, I use Tag Manager probably more than the other two. That might surprise you. You can add things to your website like analytics, the script tags that you get for those things, a Facebook pixel, remarketing tags, and you never have to email a developer again. All right. Everybody went 2 thumbs up, right? If I don't have to talk to those developer people. Sorry if you're a developer. Also, so that's thing number one, is you can embed the Tag Manager container on your website one time and then manage all of that from the other account, and it will automatically update your website then. Okay. The second part of Tag Manager is the reason that I spend all my time in there, because the first reason is just to set it and forget it. The second reason is that you can set up events, triggers, and variables to measure on your website. Okay. So back to the disaster relief example. Thank you for that example. We're just going to use that today, I guess. If somebody goes onto that website and needs help, they need some sort of assistance, let's say the food assistance, and we have a form that says, if you need food assistance, please fill out this quick form. We'll get right back to you. By the way, never say email us at support@relief.org. Don't do that. People don't click those. The data says that people don't click those, but they will fill out a form. Also, you can't measure when somebody clicks an email and sends it in Gmail, but you can measure when somebody submits a form on your website. If you're going to measure a form submission on your website, use Tag Manager. Don't use analytics. Okay? That's worth the price of admission if you paid for this. Okay? Measure it in Tag Manager. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but you can set up those triggers and conversions in Tag Manager and then feed that information to all of your other platforms. Again, Tag Manager is the hub. We do all of our management in there, and then we'll feed that data to all of our stuff. Tag Manager is awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that, other than conversion tracking and Google Tag Manager, GTM, is the magic sauce when it comes to digital marketing. If we were doing like going into level 5, 6, 7, that's all we'd be talking about. All right, Tag Manager is the way to do that. This is what it looks like. Don't let it overwhelm you. Okay. It's simple to use. That's why they built this. It used to be just a developer thing. The reason Tag Manager exists is Google wanted you to have access to the back end of your website without having to know code. That's why this tool exists. So I promise you, if you invest some time on this one, you're going to get returns quickly. I'll pause just a second if anybody wants to kind of read the setup. And then what I would recommend, add Google Analytics 4 as a tag. Okay. One each will help you with this. Instead of embedding Google, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you paused. So I do just want to make a comment out there about logging into Google, and this is taking us way back for a quick second. It's the same account, because I have run into sometimes a misunderstanding of, like, honestly, it's often your same account that you have for YouTube, because that's tied to Google. So just as you're doing this stuff, like if you're like, I'm going to do the Search Console and I'm going to do the Tag Manager, it's the same account as your analytics. So don't try and set up separate accounts. They should all be tied together. I know that seems rather basic, but just to kind of help with that. And it shouldn't be a personal account. Ideally, it's an organizational account, so that it can carry with the organization and we can pass that on. So sorry, just thought I'd throw that out there for you, Jeremy. Yeah,
no, thank you. That's a great point. Don't use, your Hotmail account, too sexy at hotmail.com to sign up for these, right? Use your organization's email address if you have an info or a support. If you have just to use yours and you're the only person that's ever going to be logging into it, that's fine. But it's going to be one account. So when I log into Tag Manager, Search Console, and Analytics, I'm using the same account to do all of that. Great point, Allison. Okay. I'm going to fly through this. I'm going to highlight one thing right here, Hotjar. What is Hotjar? Everybody's like, what the heck is Hotjar? Go to hotjar.org or hotjar.com/nonprofits. You get a free account with them. Okay. Hotjar is another tool to add to your Swiss Army knife of marketing. And it is powerful. That's all I'll say is you can get so much more data out of Hotjar than you can, even with these other tools, right? So how do you use these tools in digital marketing? Modern day digital marketing. I said digital because most marketing today is digital. Not all, but a lot of it. This is how I would phrase it. I'm not a super smart guy. I live in Tennessee, Southern Tennessee at that, near the Alabama line. So here's how I would put it. Google Search Console, you need to know how people are and are not finding your website. That'll tell you what to do next. Okay. You need to know how people are using your website, what they find valuable. This enables data-driven thinking and decisions. Tag Manager, you need to manage your website analytics without the help of a developer anymore. It's 2023 and 24. This puts growth and data in your control as a marketing person who knows the website better than your developer. Okay. My favorite quote over the last 10 years that I always come back to. You cannot manage what you do not measure. That was from a famous guy. And I would amend it just a little bit. I would actually say you cannot effectively manage what you do not accurately measure. Okay. If your data is bad, your decisions will be bad too. And it's so much more powerful. This is the last thing I'll say on this. Okay. And I've done this really the last few years with Allison and Jordan and teams that I work with, YMCA's, United Ways, Unity churches. When you come to the meeting with data and not opinions, not just opinions, you're looked at in a different way, right? So when you say something like, hey guys, 60% of our users are looking at it on the phone, and that button is at the bottom of the phone. Like nobody can get to it, okay? When you say things like that, you're going to carry an authority that people will immediately be drawn to, and it's going to make you the rock star. So this is stuff to make you the rock star in the meeting. Okay. Okay. So before we move on, Google Ad Grants questions, and then Allison, did we have another poll question, or am I dreaming that up?
We want to do poll
My poll
first?
question on it was on what they're using, but we can certainly launch it. Are you curious on what people actually are using?
I am curious, unless we have like
There's
a
been
ton
a
of questions to get
lot of
through.
great questions come in, and I do want to comment on the
Got
fact that
two.
do you want to throw a couple questions out, Jordan?
Yeah, there's two in here that I think are pretty great. And then, but if we want to do our poll first, and then we can dive into questions.
Sure.
Cool.
Let me launch the poll while you get the
Yeah.
questions ready. Poll is on the screen. Hey, there's only one question this time. Good job, Allison. Which tools are you actually using? So, so just curiosity, find out, and you can click as many of these that you are using. Which are you using? Hopefully everyone's updated to Google Analytics, GA4. I'm still checking sites regularly and finding people haven't done it yet. So
Yeah.
don't forget, if you haven't given us the new code, just because you did it on your Google, if you didn't tell one each about it, it might not be tracking. So do double check that with your account manager. All right, this is when we see who's paying attention. There is a poll question on your screen. Take a look. We're curious as to what tools you're currently using. Click any that apply, and it might be none, but it only lets me put 4, so I didn't have a space for none. All right, we'll go ahead and end the poll and see where we're at. It's kind of what I suspected there, Jeremy. Actually, I'm a little surprised this search is higher than I thought it would be. Here you go. Do you see it?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was reading a question. Which tools are you using? Search Console, Analytics. Look at that. Tag
know,
Manager, right? Wonk wonk. And then Ad Grants. Wow, 5 out of 33. Okay, yeah. We're gonna hit that the last part.
Okay, well, we're getting to it. So there you go.
So cool.
And wait, Jordan,
do we remember that data, Allison?
Yeah, I have it sitting right here.
Oh, great. I should have screenshotted those because that is so cool. Okay, Jordan, what questions do we have?
Okay, I think you may have been reading one, but there is one in here from Aaron with United Way Monterey that is asking 2 questions about Google Tag Manager and if there's a way to be setting up. It sounds like she's got QR codes with some UTM parameters. She's using shortened links with Bitly, but is there a strategy with setting that up in Google Tag Manager?
Yes.
Or is that something that we can touch on briefly, and then maybe we can connect with her afterwards as well?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it briefly. But this is awesome. Great question, Aaron. So you're a rock star. You're already down the road of using this. Good for you. The fact that you know what UTM parameters are is great. The fact that you're using them is greater. Good for you. UTM parameters are awesome. Okay. It's a great way to figure out attribution to what's working, right? So first of all, I would not use Bitly anymore, okay? Unless you have to. If you have to, because sometimes there's like a URL character limit for certain platforms, I get that. And other than that, there's not a really good reason, because even Bitly has like that hash rate at the end of the URL sometimes. So it's not easy to say or remember. It's just a lot of times it's just the character count, okay? If you have to use Bitly, it will use UTM parameter codes. That's fine. Is there a way I should be setting this up in Tag Manager for organization rather than through Bitly? If you're talking about the UTM codes themselves, no. If you're talking about the tags and the events that trigger based on those, then yes. Okay. If I knew a little bit more directly, I would answer that a little bit more specific, but I would say it that way. If you're talking about the UTM codes themselves, continue to manage that the way you are. Tag Manager will not help you with UTMs, okay? And making them or managing them. But if you are talking about the triggers and events that come from those codes, then go to Tag Manager. Can you show me where to grab this information in analytics? Yes. Step 1 for me was getting the tracking info on the URL. The next step is where the heck does that data go, right? So, well, step 1 is way more important because the data is there now. So the way that you're going to find that is you're going to go to acquisitions. So remember that reports acquisitions on the left sidebar. Let's see, do I have the, yeah. So reports here. And then when you click reports, there will be one that says acquisitions. Under acquisition, there's an option that says overview. You can use that one. And you can also use any of those tabs that are underneath it. I think there's user acquisition and traffic acquisition. Traffic is probably what you would use more than users. Under that, you're going to see a list of where people are coming from. And you can use those columns. Right there in the column, you can click the drop-down arrow to say, show me the source. Right? It looks like you're setting the source. Yeah, source, medium, campaign. You're awesome. So there will be an option for each one of those, source, medium, campaign, in the drop-down on the acquisition channel in GA4. That was a mouthful. If you click that, you'll be able to see those reports, okay? And for you, Aaron, I would say you're ready to move into this tab right here, Explore, okay? Where you set up your own reports to be delivered to you automatically, because sometimes that acquisition report can be a little bit overwhelming. If you just want to know where people are coming from with those UTM codes, use that Explore tab to set up those, okay? I hope that answers your question. So that's where you'll see it in GA4 now that it's set up. Bitly's fine. If you don't have to use it, just use regular URLs and use Tag Manager to keep it all straight. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. I've used tools like Uber Suggest, Nice. Who's that guy? Yeah, anyway, can't think of his name. He's cool. SEO man, that's what we'll call him. SEM Rush, super expensive, good for you in the past. Are these tools the same as Google Suite? Just presenting the information a different way? Are these tools different? Oh, that's Aaron too. Aaron, golly. Uber Suggest and SEM Rush. Another one, Spy Foo. Another one is Ahrefs, Ahrefs. I use that one. They are different. Okay, they are different. They pull in a lot of the data from these tools, but they present that data in more of like a 30,000 foot view. So if you're the kind of person where you sort of like a software to take this data and give you answers pretty quickly, that's where SEM Rush and Uber Suggest come in. Okay, it takes all of Google's work and makes things like actionable. Right, but a lot of times they don't do things themselves. Actually, when you set those accounts up, the first thing you do is connect it to analytics and your search console. So it needs that data to run correctly, but they are separate tools. Is there a good resource? Oh,
I just answered it. And anyway,
you're awesome.
Yeah, so we're also typing answers on some of those. So we'll get some more follow-up resources because there's a lot of great questions. So we do have all the questions. We'll make sure we pull some together. And you guys are all at different levels. Aaron is obviously pretty on the advanced side, which is fabulous. But I know many of you, or at least words, are still so new to them. I do want to throw one thing out that did come in a question. We often get asked at One Each, hey, how do I get into my Google account? What is it? Unfortunately, One Each does not know your account login or email that's associated with it. So it might be a little bit of a discovery mission that you have to go on in your organization. I certainly hope you have that info though, but we do not. So
yeah, not fun to loop in Google support to try to get access to an account. That is not fun. It works though. Every once in a while it works. Okay. I will let you all answer those questions, Jordan, if I need to come back to that. But I do want to talk about grants. Just I know we want to honor everybody's time here. So, okay, Google Ad Grants. This is where I have spent the last 18 months diving into. Okay, I have put the majority of my hours every week for the last 18 months into Google Ad Grants. Okay, so I'm pretty passionate about this project. What if in 2024, in the new year, you had $10,000 a month to advertise your nonprofit? Okay, well, what if? What would you do with that money? And you knew that you could use that money to target only the people that are actually interested in your nonprofit and the things that your nonprofit offers. Okay, so this is not a billboard on the side of the road where 98% of the people are not interested in your service, right? Drives me crazy that people pay $4,000 a month for a billboard, right? But you could target the people that were interested in your stuff. Okay. How would you feel as a marketing person if on January 1st you got a check that you were gifted, a donor came in on your website, actually gave on your website, which is a miracle, right? No, I'm kidding. They clicked and they said, we're going to give $100,000 to your nonprofit on January 1st to get the word out and to spread the word about what you're doing for your community. Okay. Maybe nationally, locally, whatever. How would that, first of all, like, I hope you would feel good. You would start dreaming, right, about the ways that you could do that. Well, the cool thing is Google is that donor and they already made that gift to your nonprofit. Okay. So how can you maximize the Google Ad Grant program for your nonprofit? And I say this is Jeremy, okay? Also known as arguably the most generous grant in the world that I know about. That's genuinely no strings attached funding. You do not have to do crazy things to get this money. And it is real money available to nonprofits today. Okay, I feel that strongly about it after doing this. I'm going to go quick through this, okay? I don't want to spend a bunch of jargon. This will be on the call if you want to pause these and read these. I want to get to some of the important points here. Okay, Google is an advertising company. Okay, they don't just do search. Alphabet is the company that owns Google. They are an advertising company. Let me prove it to you. In Q4 of 2021, their total revenue was $75 billion. Not bad, right? Google made $256 billion in 2021. It's largely made up of advertising revenue, which is $209 billion of that came from ads. Okay? Google is an advertising company. They make over 90%, I think, of their stuff from ads, their revenue. Google makes money when people click ads in Google. Everybody understand that? So when there's an ad in Google and somebody clicks that, that company that placed the ad pays Google for that click. So they're very motivated to get you clicks or businesses clicks. All right. And again, where do people go online when they want to find something? It's not MSN. It's not Bing, although that's growing a little bit. Google is the search. Now, if you're old like me, you remember when Google looked like this, right? And the yellow ads at the top that nobody liked, and it reminded us of phone books. Then they switched to something that looked like this, where there was a yellow ad and a line separating an ads on the right. Now, this is what an ad looks like. Did you see the change visually? Okay, that is a Google ad. And I put a big hot pink square around it so you know. The only thing that sets an ad off now in Google is this little text right here that says ad. And guess what? That changed. Does anybody know what it says now? And I know we just have a Q&A, but
Is it sponsored?
what does it say? Jordan, you nailed it. Ding, ding, ding. You get chocolates. It says sponsor. Okay, that was demeaning. I'm sorry. No, you're right. It says sponsor. It doesn't even say ad anymore. Why? Because they want you to click on that. The next argument is that people say, well, people don't click on ads. Humbug. The data, that's an opinion. That's an opinion. The data says that 60% of the clicks on Google from people 40 years and older goes to advertising. That's incredible. Okay. Translation, the people with money are still clicking ads. Okay. The Google Ad Grant gives nonprofits up to $10,000 worth of advertising every single month. It actually works. You do not have to jump through hoops. You do not have to send in blood samples every week. It is money that's sitting there for your nonprofit to use. Year after year, it's evergreen. Your monthly budget is $330 a day to advertise. You can divide this between various campaigns. This means your nonprofit has a 6-figure advertising budget in 2024. That is striking. I hope you take that away from this call and you're like, I'm going to do something about that. Okay. It's budgeting season. Nonprofits have to stretch every dollar. We get it. We've worked with nonprofits for a long time, and you must, right? You must. That's the right thing to do. Google is trying to drive good. Whether you like the company or not, doesn't matter. The program is there for nonprofits to increase their impact on the biggest search engine in the world. And you have $300 a day to do it. Okay. Now, how do you start going with this? That's maybe a discussion for another time. What could you do with that? This is just a list of things that you could immediately do, right? If you've ever wondered how to take the next step with in-person marketing and going to the digital with that, Google Ad Grants is the answer. Most nonprofits don't do anything with this, and that's sad. And the poll told me that and told us that, right? When 5 or whatever it was out of the 33 do it. There's a lot of free money on the table. But the ones that know about this grant are the big players that are using it like Special Olympics that gets 40% of their users for their website from ads. This is cool. Food Finder went from helping 700 people a day to 3,000 people a day. And the CEO said it's a Google-enabled nonprofit. Went as far to say that his nonprofit exists because of this. Action Against Hunger, which you've probably heard of, raised $66,000 through their ads. Habitat for Humanity, which you've probably heard, gets $280,000 of in-kind donations yearly from their ads. So it makes sense to use free money to get free eyeballs and free donations. Keep in mind, these nonprofits that I just showed you paid $0 for that. Zero. Okay. Don't just rely on organic traffic. Maybe I'll end with this, Allison. You had brought this up before the call, okay? Organic traffic is when people find your website in Google because your SEO is good, okay? SEO stands for search engine optimization. So when you're doing the things on your website to make your website rank higher, that's called SEO. And a lot of people don't know those rules, so they hire an agency to do SEO. If you've been around for, again, more than 30 seconds, you've been pitched on SEO services, okay? And they're typically retainers around $2,000 to $5,000 a month, okay? If you're spending $2,000 to $5,000 to rank your website organically, I'm going to go back to this slide. Your fitness coach, all right? And you're spending $3,000 a month with an agency to get you number one. If I'm Noom, or Allison is Noom, and she's a nonprofit, and I'm a nonprofit, and we're willing to spend $10 a month, we will beat you every time. Does that make sense? If I'm using ad grants to advertise it, to get in that top spot, because Google wants money, remember, they're motivated, and fitness coach is spending $5,000 to rank number one. Remember, this is supposed to be number one. If you've done a Google search anytime soon, you're going to know how many ads are at the top, and then maps, and then your search engine listing. You should be putting your dollars towards Google ad grants, okay? And again, it's free money. If you need somebody to run your ad grants, it makes sense to pay an agency to run the $10,000 of free money more than the $5,000 in the hole. By the way, you might get results in 6 months with an SEO agency. It takes a long time. If I start running ads tomorrow, I get traffic tomorrow. So in 2023, we're proud to say this. We have garnished over $300,000 for nonprofits since January 1st of this year. And we managed that ad grant spend of over $300,000. We'll cross $500,000 next year. This is Google's money, okay? So we kind of know what we're talking about. The click-through rates on your Google ads are just astronomical. If you've ever run Facebook ads, you're looking at like 0.1%, 0.2% is your conversion rate, not in Google ads, okay? And that comes back to, again, your audience. If I'm scrolling Facebook, I'm not in buying mode. If I'm searching Google for something, I'm an intentional person, okay? Google ad grants is what you must do. So how can I start with 4 minutes left? After this call, go to google.com/nonprofits. And remember that account that you set up for all those tools, Allison? You can use that same account to apply. And that's step one to get you going. If you have more questions on that, just let us know.
This is the question that has been pounding through for the last little bit, like, how do I get started? So
This is it.
That's the link. If you're tackling it on your own, it is a task though. So Jeremy, what do you have to say about that?
So there's 3 steps. Okay. Forget 4 and 5 here. All right. Actually, this isn't even a good graphic. I'm going to go away from that. There's 3 steps. Number 1, go to this. Can we type that into the, I'm stuck in 2000, Jordan. Maybe we can put that in.
Jordan's got it. She'll put it in the question and answer area.
You're
or
awesome.
Something.
Go to google.com/nonprofits and click sign up or create account, whatever that button says. It's a big blue button. Get started, probably. Okay. And you're going to fill out a form. That first form is very easy. It's very easy. It's like 4 questions, right? And you're going to fill out some very basic information. The second step is they're going to approve your Google Business Nonprofit account. So you need a Google Nonprofit account. That's what you're applying for at that link. Step 2 is you're going to fill out more information about your nonprofit, like your EIN number. You do need an EIN for this. Okay. So that's important. If you don't have one of those, it's going to be a little bit more. That's step 2. We can help you through this, right? You're going to get an email from Google after they approve that first step. And then step 3 is just to go ahead and activate Google Ad Grants. That's the 3 steps. It's super simple. It takes about 5 days for that whole process to happen. It takes probably 15 minutes of your time.
I am also going to
plug
plug
of information
that our team can also help you with this process of applying for this grant, getting approved, setting up campaigns. We are happy to help you with that. So if you have questions, if this seems like you need some help walking through this process, please reach out to your account manager because they can help set you up and kind of go through this Google Ad Grant process together with you. I cannot post the link in the Q&A chat. If someone would want to put a quick question in saying, hey, Jordan, what's the link for that? I can answer that question with that URL, but we will send out links to all of the resources that we talked about today with the recording so that you have it. Thank you, Jen. I see that. Oh,
I got it.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thank you.
I was waiting for it too. Now everyone's like, what's that link? What's that link?
Yeah. Okay. You should be able to see it now within the answered questions within the Q&A.
Twice.
Thank you so much for having me. And I know did a lot of talking, but hopefully I added some value. Thanks so much for having me, Allison and Jordan and the team.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. We really appreciate you jumping on. And this was a ton of really useful, really helpful information. Hopefully it was helpful for everybody else as well. All the questions, we are tracking all of them. If we didn't get an answer back to you today, we will follow up. We'll reach out and connect with you. We are able to see all of those that come in. And if you have further questions about any of the products we talked about today or the Google Ad Grants program, reach out to your account manager. And if you do not have an account manager, we do have Brian on the call. He's happy to help as well. And that will wrap us up for today. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy.